Hello, this week's Sedra is Sedra's Mitzvot Bracha, and we're celebrating Sukkot. One of the most surprising mitzvahs in the Torah is to live in a sukkah for 7 days. 3,000 years ago, our ancestors lived in Sukkot, and 3 millennia later, we spend a week replicating their lifestyles to remember the protection that God provided our ancestors against the elements and enemies. It is surprising that over the course of 3,000 years, the basic structure of this mitzvah hasn't changed. The Sukkot of today look largely like the Sukkot of thousands of years ago. In the last Torah portion of the year, we end the Torah with a praise of Moshe. Never again, the Torah says, did there arise in Israel a prophet like Moshe, whom the Lord spoke to face. In his commentary to this pasuk, Rashi wrote, when it says God spoke to Moshe face to face, it means that he was familiar with God and used to speak with him at any time he desired. The Sforno taught 2 interesting principles of Jewish law based on this verse of praise for Moshe. No other subsequent prophet, the Sforno wrote, ever attained the lofty spiritual stature of Moshe. This explained the statement by our sages that no prophet is allowed to innovate new mitzvot or laws in the Torah since Moshe has died. This statement also explains the rule that no rabbinical court may invalidate a decree or law by another rabbinical court which had preceded it, unless it can be proven to be more competent and consistent with a greater number than the rabbinical court which had instituted the original decree or law. The Sforno, if you didn't catch that, explained 2 fundamental principles of Jewish law. Prophets can't institute new laws, and a later court cannot overrule an earlier court unless they're greater in wisdom and knowledge. And they learned that from the praise that no one will be Moshe's equal. Moshe acted as both a prophet and a rabbinical court, and therefore his superiority impedes anyone from reversing his teachings and decisions. Rambam, though, took a different approach than the Sforno. He wrote, it is clear and explicit in the Torah laws that God's commandments remain forever without change, addition, or diminishment. A prophet can no longer add a new mitzvah to the Torah. Therefore, if a person will arise, whether Jew or Gentile, and perform a sign and wonder and say that God sent him to add a mitzvah, negate a mitzvah, explain a mitzvah in which a manner differs from the tradition received from Moshe, or if he says that the mitzvah commanded to the Jews are not forever, but rather were given for a limited time, he is a false prophet. He comes to deny the prophecy of Moshe, and because he dared to make statements in God's name which he never made, he should be executed by strangulation. Rambam's approach to the principle that no one can add a mitzvah to the Torah came from the eternal relevance of the mitzvot, a principle which comprises 2 of the 613 mitzvot themselves. Rambam's approach is different from Sforno's approach. While the Sforno understood the unchanging nature of the mitzvot to stem from Moshe's authority, the Rambam understood it to come from the authority of the mitzvot themselves. The difference between the Sforno and the Rambam's approach allows us an understanding of the eternity of the sukkah that was mentioned at the start of this Torah. Our Sukkot look just like the Sukkot of the past 3,000 years because no one has the authority to change the mitzvah of living in the sukkah. According to the Sforno, Moshe's authority and how he taught the mitzvah precludes any changes to the sukkah. According to the Rambam, the mitzvah of sukkah itself, like all other mitzvot, are eternal and can never be changed. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.